Get great deals throughout the store at Safeway. This week at Safeway, get mega packs of bone-in USDA choice beef New York strip steaks for $5.97 per pound with digital coupon. Limit 2 packages. Plus, Haas avocados are 10 for $10. Member price. Also, this week at Safeway, mix or match 12 packs of 12-ounce cans or 8 packs of 12-ounce bottles of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, 7-Up, or Dr. Pepper are buy 2, get 3 free. Limit 3 free items. Member price plus CRV. Visit Safeway.com or head in store for more deals.
Anthem Blue Cross and Common Threads are helping schools across the country learn about healthier food preparation. And here in LA, they're joined by the Sparks and will provide education, recipes, and knowledge to students and families about healthier options. Learn more at anthem.com/ca/sparks. Anthem Blue Cross is the trade name of Blue Cross of California.
Hey, it's Jim Chapman reminding you that if you have not heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. 1, it's free. 2, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. 3, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's really everything you need to make a podcast in only one place. It makes it easy, folks. So do me a favor, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. One of the most important aspects of new business is your business presence. If your clients, your customers, if they don't know who you are, if they don't know your hours, your locations, your specials, or your upcoming events, it can literally stop your business before it even gets off the ground. My guest for today is all about building your presence on the web, and in his words, help you achieve world domination. We're going to learn a little about how he got started, what his local Denham Springs business is all about, and get some valuable information and tips for those of you who may struggle against these large public companies to gain Google's attention. So with that, welcome Clint Sanchez of BlakSheep Creative to Local Leaders, the podcast.
Well, hello, Jim. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to dive right into it because you have a very interesting life, my friend. First, I want to hear a little about how you got started in web design and how you got started in Google domination.
I don't know. I'd say domination, but dude, I'm a musician, like a 20-something year musician, and I was going to church here at the Way and kind of helping with the sound and stuff. And then my friend that was handling all their media and website and all that kind of stuff, he quit. He had some illness in the family or whatever. So I was kind of thrust into it. I mean, I've always been a computer nerd. I remember in the 90s, check this out.
Way in the 90s, huh?
Dude, I went to, I took a computer science class and they taught us about this thing where you were going to type in your computer and talk to someone across the world, right? And we were like, whatever. Well, look at us now.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I've been a computer nerd, and then so I got thrust into that website, man, and my wife will tell you I'm wide open about everything. You know, if I'm into it, dude, I'm into it. So what I did was kind of got forced to learn. So I started learning web design and HTML and coding and all that, and just, you know, each project I want to up the last one. You know, it's almost like a pride thing or whatever. So there you go. That's how it's evolved. And
here you are, and you're on the best podcast you could possibly be on.
Absolutely.
So,
hey, other podcast people don't judge me for that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, don't judge him. Don't cancel your contract.
That's you, Woody.
Yeah, Woody, especially you. So, you know, all of that's interesting, and I can kind of relate.
Sure.
Man, I can remember when Netscape Navigator first came out, and my friend had a computer, and this is dial-ups now. This is the old 8 megabit.
Yeah, man.
Welcome to AOL and all that kind of stuff. And he called me over to his house, and he was just like, check this out. So he, you know, it dialed up. It took 20 minutes. Finally, we're online, and this was Yahoo. This was back when Yahoo was dominating. And he said, you know, type in a question. And I don't remember what I typed in, but it gave me the answer. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is great. I can ask anything. He's like, anything. And it just kind of spurred from there. But it's amazing. You know, when you think about it, Clint, that wasn't too long ago, man. That was 25 years ago. And here we are now. And it's 2 seconds. And if you're not on the internet, you're calling the computer service guy wanting to know what's wrong.
Yeah.
But back then it was all about patience. And it didn't seem like a long time. I can even remember before that on the very first Apple computer a buddy of mine had, I actually wrote code and was able to make an American flag pop up and play music. And I thought I'm a genius. So that was it. I was done. I was going to be a computer guy growing up. So I, like you, have always kind of been into that sort of thing. Now, we talked about you're an interesting cat, and we're going to kind of get into that a little bit. First and foremost, you're former military, but your whole team is former military.
Yeah. It's just who we are. You know, me and I guess I'll talk about Alec right now. Alec's the partner. He's the pretty face behind the scenes. Man, he was going to be here today, but he's got the COVID. Yeah, so when we do Zoom,
keep him home.
Yeah, when we Zoom, I wear my mask and everything just in case.
Even when you Zoom.
That's right. You know, he was. Our heart is kind of for veterans and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
He was in the 101st in Afghanistan. He was a sniper, so he's all about precision, and he keeps me grounded. You know, because I'll veer off, and he's like, hey, you know, so that's good. So there's him. There's, you know, he's a vet. I'm a vet, and
that's
you know,
awesome.
we've done we do a lot for vets, man, because we got this one group that they support. We do a few websites that support, you know, battalions and whatnot.
Yes.
Like,
and we're going to get into that.
Cool, I'll shut up then.
No, don't shut up.
So anyways,
but I don't want you to spill beans just yet, because I want to talk about that kind of in depth.
So yeah, our heart is for veterans and you know, small businesses, because, you know, man, and we'll probably touch on it, but it's tough out there to compete against the Amazons and the Google. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying.
So far away.
We've had conversations about that.
Absolutely.
And, you know, so you're a former military guy. We all respect that. We love the military around here. Yeah. You also play the guitar, do you not? Mm-hmm. Pretty good?
I mean, I used to. I haven't touched it in a year, but it was another one of them things, man. When I was into it, I was into it. And I've played at churches around. And
most guys that are really good never admit it. I find that interesting. A buddy of mine named James Adam McCants, one of the best guitarists I've ever heard live. And if you ask him if he's any good, his answer is, I'm better than the average bear.
Hey,
he's way better than the average. He's better than the average guitarist.
Right, man. They've got some talent here in this area.
Yeah, he's very good. I'm sure you're very good as well. Y'all get together and do a jam session in my office one
I'd
night.
have to find all my
stuff. I could sing. You know,
absolutely.
You sound like Elvis. So if that wasn't enough, Clint, if that's not, you know what? I'm already interested. You're already an interesting cat. You also are a fire inspector for the Baton Rouge Fire Department. Been there 23 years, and you inspect arsons and things like that?
No, it's in some municipalities, the investigators are inspectors. So I'll tell you what an inspector does. We are, let me give you some background. For about a dozen years, 10, 12 years, I was riding the truck, right? And it was, you know, you call 911, here we come in the city of Baton Rouge. If the ambulance is coming, you're coming. And I'm pretty sure that's like that everywhere, but so we would show up, and it would be, great, they're here. Well, then I got promoted to being an inspector, which is, it's illegal for me to say this in a for real way, but we essentially do the same job duties as the state fire marshal. We are now, so now when we show up, we're that guy that's going to make you spend money to do this, that, and the other. Right. So now it's, oh goodness, here they are, you know. So I went from people being happy to show up to running and locking the door, but it's fun, man. You know, they give me a card, and an area, and a card is in a fuel man card, and they say, go run your mouth, man. Go talk to people. And that's great. You know, I do it and
vaguely familiar.
Yeah, that's right.
I do a lot of that.
That's right. So I get to see small businesses on the onset, and I get to, and that's kind of what me and Alex talked about is you see, when I show up wearing that hat, I show up and they're, man, they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. They're fixing to get open. And then I show up and it's like, hey, I'm going to need you to spend another, $1,200 or what. I don't say money because money, you can't put a price tag on safety. But anyways, right. So I see the struggles, man. I see what they go through. I see them going through, jumping through the bureaucratic hoops and I got a permit for this and you got to get a permit to take another permit out and all kind of stuff. So it's kind of why our heart became for the small guy, the underdog.
Right. And no time more than now is the small business struggling. I would say the vast majority are struggling right now. And so obviously that's a focus of us on Local Leaders, the podcast as well. Now, you provide kind of a special focus on nonprofits. I do my research, Clint. And,
do it, brother.
I research you up, down, sideways, and you really do a lot for nonprofits. You started to talk about one earlier before I rudely cut you off.
No, brother, you driving.
So now we can talk about it. One of them in particular really sparked my interest, and we talked about this on the phone the other day. I was like, wow, man, that's a great thing. You had sent me a little link of it. So tell me about that. Tell me about that. Which particular one?
This
was the one with it was the military guys that it was like a fund.
No Slack Association. Okay, yeah. So forgive me, Alec. I think it's the 327th. They're a battalion out of, or a brigade, whatever it is, out of 101st Airborne, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're the bee's knees, and
sure.
A guy set up a foundation to support those guys, to support their families, to send their kids to school if, God forbid, they don't make it back. So we built that site to help them out, and it's working great for them. And that association is awesome. Which, by the way, they put me. It's a funny story. So I started watching this Netflix documentary. It's called The Hornet's Nest. There's two of them based on this outfit. It's Hornet's Nest and My Brother's Keeper, right? So I think in the Hornet's Nest, it's live footage. There's a reporter that's embedded with them. And anyways, and long story short, so they're like pinned down for a 7-day firefight, and they took a bunch of casualties. And so I'm telling Alec, I'm like, bro, you need to see this thing, man, bro. These dudes were, and he's like, yeah, I know. I lived it. I was there. Like you saw me in it. So, that kind of opened my eyes, bro. Them guys, wow. I've got a brother-in-law that's got PTSD and all that. And you don't come home the way you left, man. So that kind of struck to my heart. I'm not going to lie. I was freaking tearing up when I was doing the website just because some of those guys ain't here no more. So anyway, so that's one nonprofit. And we've got a few like that we're doing.
You're definitely very passionate about it. We've talked about those sort of things, and you should be. And it's a great thing to put attention on those types of you don't even want to say businesses, but charities and
for sure.
and
entities.
Organizations,
right,
entities.
Right.
They really need attention. And,
sure.
So you do a great job with that. I really enjoyed checking out that website in particular, and I'm going to link that to this video so that people can check it out and they can not only see your work, but see, a great organization there that's doing a lot of good for our real heroes.
You talk about, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my dear friend. I'm not going to take over and give shout outs, but I do another one, man. It's BR Soldier Outreach. Did you check that one out?
I did.
These ladies, man, it started years ago, and what they do, they're local. Whereas no Slack Association is in Tennessee, I believe.
Yeah.
These ladies, man, they get together, and Christmas coming up, they send out shipments. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, if you're deployed in Afghanistan and you need, we want to remind you that we love you here, and you might not have Tabasco. Well, Tabasco is in those MREs, but you might not have whatever, and they'll send
pralines.
Yeah, dude, you want some Twizzlers when you're deployed overseas? Finish business, man. And those ladies are really killing it, Miss Christie.
And they're local?
Absolutely. They're brsoldieroutreach.com. They always need help, man. They need people. Man, I want to say those shipments cost, a couple grand.
Yeah,
a piece, and they do them quarterly, man. So that our hearts with them too, not in a bad way, but
good.
you know what I'm saying?
And I'm glad you mentioned them.
Like they're freaking awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Now you're also the web designer for Real Life, Real Crime, a podcast by Woody Overton, as well as local leaders of the podcast. You are my web designer, and considering both Woody and me are rated in the top 50 worldwide, Clint, I would say you're a pretty good podcast web design guru.
I do a little song.
So, it seems like you found a niche, though. That's a pretty, limited group there with podcasters.
For sure.
And you obviously do a great job with them. I know you and I talk very frequently at night. We're texting back and forth half the night talking about ideas and things that we think would improve, rating on Google and all those sorts of things. And we'll get into that. So another web design site that you do that's pretty local is Pinnacle Search and Rescue, which, for those of you that may not know, is the Cajun Navy, formerly.
The original Cajun Navy. So they're now called Pinnacle Search and Rescue.
Right. And you are their web designer and done some great work on there. I went and toured that. We'll link that also. That's another nonprofit that
they do the work. I just make it look pretty, man.
Look, man, I was in the middle of 6 feet of water and saw those guys flying around everywhere. And so were a lot of people in this town. So we love them and really appreciate the work you do for them as well. But wonder why they changed. Do you know why they changed the Cajun Navy? Can we talk about that? Probably not.
There was some to help distinguish themselves.
Getting Diane Sawyer on you? Yeah. Tell me, Clint. Tell me. I know you know the scoop.
Where the chair at? Maury, you're not the father's baby. There's after once the Cajun Navy started becoming popular, there was some to make a distinction between them and some of the organizations, some of the other ones. There was all kind of nasty and not with my Cajun Navy, but they just wanted to distinguish themselves and set themselves apart for posterity purposes. Is that word right?
Sure. I like it.
So, and it's we'll talk about Google and stuff later, but they're killing me with that rebranding because not as many people are searching for Pinnacle Search and Rescue as they are Cajun Navy, but I still try to sneak it in there and make Google. To make that correlation, to where they know it's the same people.
That's right, because if Google don't know who you are, or they're confused about what you do, you'll never rank on Google.
There's a saying in the biz, my biz, I sound cool now, huh? That if you want to really hide something, you put it on page 2 of Google.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Now, I want to revert back, and we're going to talk about real life, real crime a little bit more here. Because and the reason I want to do that is that's kind of the way I found you.
I remember.
It's funny how life kind of comes full circle. You did some work for them, and when people don't believe that logos on somebody else's website work or not, I am a good example of that because I like everybody else, I'm a fan of that podcast, went on their website and was, blown away by the design, thought it was really good, scrolled down to the bottom, and it says, created by BlakSheep Media. And that is, by the way, BlakSheep, BLAK. There is no C, and we'll get to why.
Creative,
I know
not
why.
media. He always messes it up.
Creative, sorry. BlakSheep Creative. We should change that to BlakSheep Creative Media.
I'm buying media too.
So I scrolled down to the bottom, saw that, and that's how I initially got in touch with Clint. And I even contacted Woody and said, what do you think of this guy? And he had nothing but nice things to say about you. And so here we are today. But that kind of, I would imagine for you, that was a great help, as far as getting your name out there, because Real Life, Real Crime is a extremely popular podcast, not only locally, but worldwide.
Yeah. So, man. The way I got turned on to them is my wife, they act like they know what they're talking about. But she was listening to the podcast, right? His. And, man, I don't, whatever, and she's like, man, you got to check this out. So I listened to it and I was like, oh, yeah. So I did what's my guilty, this is a bad habit of mine, but it just like it is what it is. So I went and checked out his website, and I think Cindy made it, and I was like, yeah. So I reached out to her and I was like, hey, here's some ideas of how we can, kind of improve, or I'd love to improve. So they brought me on board, and man, it's been fun ever since. That's a straw in the hat. Feather,
absolutely,
whatever it is. There's one of those.
There's no doubt about it, and they've made a lot of the right moves at the right time. And I'll link Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, to this episode as well, and let people check out that web design that you've done there. They're great friends of ours. A lot of people think us podcasters compete against each other. We don't. We're like a little community, and it's there is no competition there. Plus, I can't tell a story like Woody. There's no way. So
keep it G-rated.
Oh, that's yeah. And look, he hasn't. For those of you that have not, the one or two that may not have seen it, it's not for everybody, but it's for most people. And there is a warning at the beginning that turn the podcast off if you offend.
Kind of like his
easily.
trademark too.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is. And he has a great intro that I'm extremely jealous of that Toby Tomplay did for him. And is just awesome. And I hum it all the time. It is an addictive intro. And just like I say, all the right moves. We're going to quit bragging about him. And we're going to get on to you and more important things. And one of the things that you did that I found interesting was you did the infographics. So you do infographics. You do web design and poster design and all those sorts of things. Yeah. So you did the infographic for the city of Baton Rouge for COVID-19, the actual official infographic. So if you're a city government entity or state government entity and you're looking to get artwork for anything, not including COVID, this guy can do it for you. I wanted to bring that up. It's a nice looking infographic you got on there.
Infographics are important.
Absolutely.
I'll get to that later for you. That's a tip.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you 100%, but you don't just do infographics and web design, man. You get into a little bit of everything.
Well, I had to,
yeah. Well, and you're good at it. And that's the part that's tough to master. So you do logo design. Yeah. I want to mention that. And there's two in particular. I'm going to tell you what my favorites are that you've done viewing your website. One is for the Exotic Shed Snake Breeders. And they're a snake breeder, and they have an awesome logo that you designed for them. It's on your website. Now, are they local, or are they just...
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
I'm not familiar with them.
So. No, but a few people are, and it's a rants and raves kind of thing. So, no, they're not around anymore.
Oh, gotcha. Well, maybe that's why I'm not familiar.
Had some turmoil. Yeah, if you knew them, whatever.
Oh,
yeah.
Do I need to cut this part out?
No, carry on. No.
Okay. I mean, I'll lie.
No litigation.
Okay. We'll go on to $3 Cadillac then. That's my second favorite.
Do you really like that?
Love $3 Cadillac's logo.
They're not around anymore either. You talk about guitar players. That's a guy named Mike Mansell.
Okay.
He's in Walker. Phenomenal guitar player. and that was one of his bands.
He's just a $1 Cadillac now, I guess.
He's
a band of one, as they say. Well, his logo is sweet.
That was easy because he was one of those good clients / friends or whatever that like knew what he wanted. He was like, I want this, and this. And I just, again, put the pieces together.
Right. Well, you did a great job with that. So, one of my things when it comes to logo is I think a good logo, this is my vision here, but I think a good logo will tell you almost everything you need to know about that business without knowing anything about that business. Right. And so, mine has a microphone on it. It has the state of Louisiana with the red Livingston Parish, in the center. And of course, the name and the lightning bolt. But what that logo says to me, it kind of tells you what I do without me ever saying a word. Yeah. Although I still say words.
Yeah, but don't sell yourself short.
Look,
that purple.
Yeah, the purple color. And gold, which is the Denham Springs High School colors, which I felt very passionate about using for my logo. And it don't hurt that the LSU Tigers are also purple and gold, so I can appeal to both fans. But it's the local high school for where I live, and so it all fit. But that's the thought process, right? Going into logo design.
Yeah,
some people have that creativity, and some people don't, and don't want it.
I'm an artist at heart, and. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of people don't think, some people just want logos for logo's sake, or, hey, I'm starting a snowball stand and I need a logo. Excuse me. Sometimes I think too much into it, but I'm thinking of it from my point of view. Your text, your typography, your colors, man, all that stuff, your
text is
it explains you, man. That's your logo and that's you.
That's right. And Clint, it can make or break you.
Absolutely.
Because logos will also give somebody an impression of the legitimacy of a company, whether that's, true or not.
Yeah.
It is a first impression that someone makes. And so it's great that they can turn to Black Sheep Media for that. And
creative.
Doggone it. Black Sheep Creative. I cannot get that. I don't know why I do that, Clint.
It wouldn't be fun if it weren't.
So, Black Sheep Creative they can turn to, and you can get them fixed up. So in the past, and we're going to get in, now it's time to get into Google.
Let's get
my
nerdy.
Best friend, Google.
Nerdy.
Right? Yeah. So we're about to geek out here. So in the past, it was person-to-person word of mouth that sold small business, Clint. Back in the day, if I thought that Farrell Calhoun made a good paint, I would go tell my friend, buy Farrell Calhoun, they make a good paint, right? And that's how people knew.
Right.
Their best friend told them, their mama told them, their grandma told them. Well, nowadays, that's not changed. There's still word of mouth, but it's different in the way that it gets articulated. Now it's Google reviews, right?
Yeah.
So how important do you feel Google reviews are to business? How much do they play a role in business these
they're
days?
critical, but let's step it back a space. So to have Google reviews, guess what? You've got to have somewhere for them to be. You and I are dealing, we're that's Google My Business, right? G&B is what we call it, us nerds. We're fighting with them right now about yours, about this. Like you've got to set one up, and they're being difficult to set up. Only it's on them. But anyways, so you've got to have a GMB if you're a local brick and mortar, right? You just have to. The benefits are it's free. First off, look, I'm going to look at my notes because I've got a bunch of stuff like Google My Business is, if you're searching the internet, people can't see this, but you see it's called SERPs, search engine result pages, right? So if you look up Local Leaders, the podcast, let's back out. Let's look up four-wheelers for sale. There'll be probably about 3 ads, okay? Then that fourth position will be the actual number one position. Well, people pay a lot of money depending on the niche for 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
4 is actually your first free, if you will. Well, now as Google evolves, they're showing what we call it rich snippets. Mm-hmm. So that's your position 0. That's your knowledge panel on the side that's going to say, hey, Local Leaders, the podcast, to Facebook and link to all kind of stuff. That's going to be on the right. And then up top is your maps, We call it the snack pack or the 3-pack. There's your maps. There's your, it just all depends on what you're searching for.
That's right. And so just before you move on from that, and here's the way I think about this. If someone gets on Google and they Google Local Leaders, the podcast, there's all kinds of things that pop up for me. As a matter of fact, it all pops up for me. Sure. That's not when I'm looking for it to pop up. When I'm looking for it to pop up is when people Google podcast in Louisiana.
Exactly right.
Podcast in Livingston Parish. Podcast in Denham Springs. They don't know my name. They just want to hear a podcast in Louisiana.
That's right.
Local business podcast. That's when I want to see Local Leaders of the podcast pop up. That's the hard part, Clint. That's the part you got to hire a you for. Because as much as I'm versed with this stuff.
For sure.
I know nothing about that compared to what you know. And so that is, I just want people to grasp the importance of getting someone that this is what they do.
Sure.
You understand? Because the problem is people will try, I can set up a website for free. I can do my such and such for free. You absolutely can. And no one will know where you are unless they're specifically searching for you 99% of the time, unless you were just a savant and you know how to do all of this without any help. That is not 99% of small business owners, nor do most of them want to fool with it. It's a headache for most people because it takes time.
And money.
But I wanted to hammer down that point because it's an important one.
It's critical, man.
That people will go and they'll say, I show up on Google. I rank first because I Googled Local Leaders of the podcast and there I am. And if someone's already searching for exactly you're going to pop up.
And that's a branded term. Like if you...
Correct.
If you don't show up for your own self,
you really need help.
You laugh. I'm not salty, but I know companies will say in the state that do what I do that don't show up for their own name.
Yeah.
So what's it tell you? Maybe you don't know what you're doing.
It's definitely a problem.
So it's like I can bore you with statistics. Let me hit you. Let's go back to those reviews. Let's go back to those reviews with GMBs. Okay. GMBs are essential. I can tell you that depends on what survey you go by. About 49 to 62.5% of local small businesses haven't claimed their GMB. It's free.
What is GMB again?
It's Google My Business. Okay,
Google My Business.
So, man, claim that. It's free. I can't set it up. Don't just claim it. Set it up. Set it up right. Like I tell people, if there's a blank.
And what does it do, though, Clint?
Well, what do you
do when you set that up? What does that do for you?
Google's mission statement is to organize. I got to read it so I don't mess it up. Get sued. Organize the world's information and make it accessible and useful. Right? That's their goal. That's what they spend, money to do. That's what they do. Okay, so what you do when you set up a GMB is you're saying, hey, Google, here I am, right? So here's my business. Here's my services. Here's where I'm at.
This is who I am, what I do.
This is who I am, what I do. Here's some pictures of what I do. Here's this, that, and other. Set it up all the way. And for a number of purposes, that's where Google gets their, if you've been driving down the road and you said, hey, Siri, not really. If you say, hey, Siri, I want Chinese food. Guess where Siri's going to look? That's where she's going to get her data. So she's going to know, here's where Jim is. Here's where the Chinese food place is next to him. That's going to come from your GMB. So like I said, it's free. So let's get it. Let's leverage that. And then let me back up. When we talk about Google, we're talking about all search engines, right?
Sure.
However, Google has 95% of the market share. Matter of fact, there's 3.5 billion Google searches per day.
What about Bing?
Bing don't count Bing out because Bing is like 5%. A lot of times, that's a mistake I see because Google will look at Bing and kind of be like, okay, Livingston Parish News is on Bing, but they're not on us, but we'll use their information. You know what I'm saying? So don't count Bing out.
No, I know.
But when we talk SEO and stuff, it's all about the G monster,
There's no doubt.
So small business owner, set up your GMB, please.
There you go. There's tip number 1 right there. Set up your GMB. Let people know who you are, what you do, all those sorts of things, and that'll start you on your.
But don't just set it and forget it. Like, set it up, man. When Google ranks, where'd I have it?
We getting into that. We gonna get into
No. I'm saying when they rank insofar as with the map pack, that's when they look at the map and at the local businesses.
Right.
They're gonna look at your GMB and they're gonna rank you in that. We're not talking organic search, although this is a part of it. We're talking about up top, that map pack, right? They're gonna look at relevance. So how do you match the search intent? You're not gonna see, an auto parts store if you're looking for Chinese food. Right. That's what they're trying to figure out. The distance, obviously, they want to show you the Chinese food place that's closest to you. And then the prominence. That's how often it's updated and how often it's a breathing, entity, if you will. So if you set one up and then just walk away from it, yeah, you'll be prominent at first, but then you'll start ticking down. What I'm saying?
No, I get it. And it's so very important. And we want those people to set it. And so that's critical and tip number 1 there for you. Now, let's talk a little bit about SEO. So this is where the men get separated from the boys in your world.
Or the ladies.
Or the ladies. Yes, absolutely. SEO is one of the hardest things in the world to grasp, even when you're pretty good at, even when you're pretty knowledgeable and well-versed in computers. Good luck with dealing with SEO, which is search engine optimization, for those of you out there that aren't up on that term. But in my opinion, SEO is one of the most critical things to small business and especially startups.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
Absolutely. SEO. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So it's also the hardest part to grasp, as we just discussed. What's the biggest struggle with regard to SEO that you see? What is the biggest mistakes that people make?
Oh, I can go on and on. SEO is essentially fixing your website's content to where Google knows what it is. Because remember, they want to share the world's information, whatever that mission statement was, right? So they want to, let me back up. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but Google makes money selling ads, right?
What?
So what they want to do is they want to put those ads in front of the eyes where they'll yield results, right? Mm-hmm. So what Google does is they have what's called, I'm going to give you SEO 101. We're going to take it from the ground floor. They have what's called bots, spiders, crawlers. It's
basically
a computer thing, right?
Yeah, it's little programs.
And they crawl the web, right? So and then they feed it back to this massive database, BTW, by the way. I learned today, man, one Google search uses enough energy to power a 60-watt light for 17 seconds.
Wow.
3.5 billion searches per day. So that should tell you, how massive it is and how much they're spending. So anyways, so they crawl the website and they know what's there, right? So our job as SEOs or as a web owner, you want to help those bots, man, because it's expensive. We've established that. So we want to help them understand what our page content is so that they can then run that through their algorithm and match, answer people's questions, because essentially that's all a web search is a question.
Well,
if you think about it,
that's right. That's exactly Chinese food in Denham Springs.
And we go back to your question, back in the 90s when you typed in a question, that hasn't changed.
No.
Google has.
And it's the way in which you let the World Wide Web know
that's exactly right.
Your information. Now, you just said a word here, and that was algorithm.
Oh.
So algorithms dominate the World Wide Web space more than anything else. Facebook has an algorithm. Instagram has an algorithm. Google has an algorithm. And these are protected secrets. Okay, so for the people out there that don't know, algorithms are basically just kind of like programs. They are designed to put out content based off of certain behaviors that us as creators perform. So, I've done classes actually on algorithms for Instagram and algorithm tips for Facebook and things like that. And, people would be surprised. It's even down to, here's one for Instagram for you people out there. It used to be you'd comment on someone's post on Instagram and you'd say, oh, awesome, maybe on their post. And that would count as an interaction, and the algorithm would recognize that and they would push you up that news feed. Well, what happened was people started creating bots, and these bots would basically comment for you so that you would get pushed up on the feed, even though you weren't doing it yourself. But it was, you would pay for these bots. You would install them on your computer. It would do this for you. Now, over time, Google figured this out and they said, we've got to figure out a way to kind of humanitize this. So they changed their algorithm, and they changed it where you had to do 5-word comments in order for it to push you up that feed.
Sure.
Kind of a smart thing on Google's part. And if you added an emoji, it would push you up even quicker. This algorithm is always changing because the people that cheat the algorithm are always changing, and it is a constant battle. It's interesting, Clint, in that they have people that will go rogue on Instagram. And they'll kind of release some of these secrets. Now, even people that work at Instagram, Facebook, Google, 99.9% of them have no idea of the algorithm. There's one or two guys in there that are engineers that are way high up the scale, and they know. And that's it.
It's heavily guarded, man. You talk about changes. It changed. Let me look at my dates before I get them right. In 2010, Google's algorithm changed 350 to 400 times. No, they're they're tight-lipped about everything, right?
Yeah, so that's once a day.
Absolutely.
On average.
Well, in 2019, there was 3,200 algorithm changes. Not all of them major. Just by the way, December 3rd, they rolled out a core change for their algorithm, and we're kind of sitting back to see. We don't know what it is. We don't know what they've changed, so we're kind of analyzing data and trying to watch for the downfall, if you will, or the fallout. But they're forever changing. They're forever changing, trying to make it a better experience for the user, right?
Right.
And to combat the people that have figured out the system and are trying to hack it, or not hack it, but you know what I'm saying, trying to manipulate the system. Years ago, man, we've all seen the web pages, that were packed full of keywords, man. If you were Local Leaders, the podcast, it would just read unnatural. It would be like, hey, I'm Jim with Local Leaders, the podcast. I talk about Local Leaders, the podcast, and it would just not be natural. And what that would do is, back then, before Google wisened up, if you will, it would be more relevancy. They'd be like, well, this is obviously about Local Leaders, the podcast. So, and the same could be true for that Chinese food in Denham. If you did the same thing, it would read unnatural. So Google started to, so they
adjusted, Clint, is what they did. And there's two sides to that. One part of me says they make it too hard for the business person to even rank. And then part of me says, well, they're combating bots that are fake businesses or businesses that want a much larger web presence than they actually earn, for lack of a better term.
Well, and that's a lot of, we were talking about how their algorithm works and whatnot. Remember, nobody knows. Now, we as SEOs think there's about 200 factors that they use. Okay. How do we know? Because we talk about people going rogue. It's two guys that we follow. Google will occasionally let the cat out the bag, or they're real cryptic, but yet they'll tweet something and it kind of lets you know which way, what their slant is. There's a guy named Matt Cutts. He was the head of Google from the onset. Not the head of Google search quality. So that tells you, hey, man, this guy knows something. He left in 2016. Now he's over some government data agency thing. Kind of same business.
Yeah.
So he'll tell us every now and then, back in around 15, 14, I've got it here. He said, hey, this is what we use. We factor this in, or we factor this in. So he showed his hand, right? So then there's a guy named John Mueller. He's at Google. His technical title is Senior Webmaster Trends Analyst. In other words, he knows what he's talking about, right?
Absolutely.
So he'll say stuff otherwise too. Let's talk about those 200 ranking factors. Okay. HTTPS. That's a secure site. SSL, secure site. I can speak in acronyms all day, but for the layperson, you go to a website and it says, "Hey, you're not secure." Chances are you're gonna we call it bouncing. You're gonna roll out. Well, unfortunately for Mr. Business Owner, if your site isn't secure, they're not even gonna get past the front door to see what you have. So
and you beat me to the punch on that one.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We're getting to it. What it is we're on the same wavelength. So
it's the haircut.
Indeed it is, Clint. So, but before we get to SSL, which we're definitely going to talk about, and kind of bringing you back to the algorithms and things like that. These algorithms essentially allow you to rank and we want to keep in mind that right now we're talking to people that are not computer nerds like us. So in layman's terms, what does it mean to rank in Google? What does that mean?
So when you type in your question, Google has, millions, hundreds of millions of database. I mean, I would give you a statistic, but it just changed. Yeah. And it just changed again. So there's all these websites. So they're trying to answer your question, right? So they're going to say,
my brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
What is Jim asking? Okay, let me try to answer his question. That's those factors that they're gonna weigh in, some of those 200 factors, and then they're gonna try to answer your question best they can, right?
Right.
So
when you're ranking in Google,
if you're number one, you're the most relevant, right? So
you're going to pop up first.
You're going to pop up first. If they're kind of, or whatever, 2, and then 1 through 10, right? The first page tends to be about 10 listings, 10 results, and then page 2 and 3 and 4, and there's statistics that show between and I wish I knew them, but between first ranked page and third ranked page, it's not you get all the traffic, you get just a little less. It's an exponential drop between just 1 and 2.
Yes, but for these people that are watching this, what the advantage is to them is, and I'll use this analogy.
Sure.
You're a real estate agent.
Okay.
Someone goes on Google and they type in real estate agent in Livingston Parish because they live in New York City and they're moving to Livingston Parish. The person that ranks the best is going to pop up first. Right. They're the most likely to get the call from the person in New York that's looking to move to Livingston Parish because her husband got transferred to a plant.
Right.
And that is basically why it's so important to rank in Google. Because some people will say, well, I mean, if I show up second or third, who cares?
Right. But are you going to get that click?
Maybe not. Probably not.
Right.
Probably not, because studies show that over 80% of the time, people click on the first thing that pops up.
That's exactly right.
It's the most prominent. It's the first thing their eyes read, because people read what? From the top down, not from the bottom up.
Right.
So it's not that they're saying, well, I want the number one person. It's the first thing they read.
Exactly right.
So if you're a real estate agent and you have a website, you're probably doing yourself a pretty good service by getting a professional web designer who focuses on SEO to do your stuff for you, even if you're pretty good at it.
Right.
Because if you're not showing up first when you Google real estate agents in Livingston Parish, maybe you're missing out on that person that's husband got transferred to, Exxon in Baton Rouge, and they're moving from New York City. That's the advantage to the people the people that are in that type of field. You can say the same thing with painters. Painters in Livingston Parish. Someone doesn't know any painters, and maybe they don't want to play what I call the Facebook game, which is, I need a painter in Livingston Parish. Who you got? And there's 900 different comments.
Go around and raise and ask for one.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. It's insane because everybody's got their own. It doesn't matter what the business is. I need to buy a house. Who you got? How many real estate agents you think are going to show up in the comments for that?
I mean,
there'll be 100. Yeah. How is that person supposed to differentiate on who they want? So the easiest way to do it is to just go to Google and just Google it. And if you have a best friend, maybe call them and ask them who they recommend. Short of that, you're going to get 90 different answers,
right?
In most cases. So that to me is the importance of ranking and what ranking will do for you,
right?
Especially in fields like electricians, painters, real estate agents, where people do legitimately Google that stuff and see, especially if they're from somewhere else and they're coming here, real estate agents. So and let's talk about keywords real quick. You kind of touched on that, but when you're building sites and you use keywords, it used to be, you could put 1,000, Clint. You could put 1,000. We'll take my podcast, for example. I could put podcast in Livingston Parish, podcast in Denham Springs, podcast on business. The list goes on and on. But can you have too many keywords?
You can't. I tend to tell people to optimize for one keyword or keyword phrase per piece of content. It used to be per page, but you're a podcaster, so you're going to have text to go with your content, right?
Sure.
So you kind of all it is if you're a writer, let's just think back to high school, right? So your teacher tells you to write a paper on Chevy trucks. Okay. So you're going to write your paper based upon Chevy trucks. That's going to, in this instance, that would be your keyword. However, let's say you're writing a post about Chevy trucks, right? You want to rank for Chevy trucks. Well, it's going to be hard. It's going to be competitive because Chevy, right? So if you're a Chevy dealer, let's say, and you are trying to rank for Chevy trucks, what I would suggest is to broaden that thing, right? We tell people to look for keywords that have a high. It's an offset. You got to say, what search volume do I want? So how many people are searching for that a month versus how competitive it is. So then enters long tail keywords, we call them. So you would have a better chance of ranking for purple Chevy truck for sale, let's say, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I get you.
So, and then you can rank for all the keywords in the world, man.
Sure.
But are they going to do you any good? And you'll rank for them, and then you'll fall off because somebody will come to your website. They'll come to Jim's. Let's say Jim's ranking for I don't know, rocket ships. Well, if people come to your website and they don't find rocket ships,
how did you know I'm into rocket ships?
Well, Tesla, who's that?
Yeah.
So
I love Tesla.
Yeah, not the band.
That's an interesting vehicle.
So you can have all the keywords in the world you want. You can rank for all of them. You can rank number one for all of them, but what good is it?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And since you diverted my attention from all of this and you brought up Tesla, I do want to say one thing that's interesting. My son came to me and told me for graduation he wants a Tesla. And I'm like,
do it big. Do it big.
You better tell Carter's to work you some hours, boy. Give all them folks over there a call. Tell them you need some OT. Because, Daddy's getting a Tesla first. Sorry.
There you go.
But I did tell him, look, you work hard in college. And I got no doubt you can be driving a Tesla, but I just don't know if that would be a great first vehicle. It would be a great first vehicle, Clint.
Responsibility, got to charge that thing,
Yeah. But, he's a good kid. But anyway, you brought up Tesla, and it reminded me of that because I was like, you got your daddy's taste, boy.
Yeah.
This can be a good or bad thing. So
keywords, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you about mistakes and keywords and all that. Like, you talk about stuff.
Give me one mistake.
I take what I do passionately,
we got a lot
right?
to cover.
Your keyword, you also want to, that's all search SEO is letting Google know what's on that page, right?
That's right.
I can't say it enough.
That's right.
So you've got to put that keyword in places. Like, you've got to use it in your title, using your meta. But anyways, I'll go on.
And see, and I'll tell you, and this is why it's important that people contact, BlakSheep, is because, and you like that, I shortened it so that way I don't mess
right on BSC.
BlakSheep, BLAK, no C. Okay, so you basically, it's probably blowing people's mind out there right now when keywords and algorithm and SEO.
There goes your views.
Oh my, and all those sorts of things. And that's why you hire this guy, because I'm pretty versed at this, and that's like mind blowing to me, because I can think of 1 million keywords I would want to use for me. And then as I'm doing it, I want to put them down because I don't want to shortchange myself and make a mistake. Right. So,
but guess what? You don't have to just use that keyword. There's what's called latent semantic indexing.
Oh, Lord.
So just follow me here.
Say that three times fast.
Like LSI, we call it. There you go. So you're writing an article on paint, right?
Right.
You did one on the other top 10 paints or whatever. Google knows that if you're writing about paint and you know what you're talking about, so in other words, you'll be relevant to a searcher, there's going to be other words in there that they're going to look for. They're going to look for brush. They're going to look for roller. They're not going to look for it, but those words naturally would be in there. So That's just more stuff to think about. At the end of the day, man, write good content.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, hire you.
Or somebody.
That way, because believe me, this stuff, you will go down what I call the rabbit's hole with this stuff, and you will never pull yourself out. You'll go home at 6 o'clock after work and you'll say, I'm going to study a little bit about SEO because Jim did that podcast and I liked it so much, and that guy seemed really nice, but I think I can do that myself. And you'll go home and it will be 12 o'clock at night. You will have a headache, and you will still not have any idea of what you are doing. And
it's
tough. It's time consuming. And you got to really love it, man. That's something, when you get down deep with what you do, you got to love that stuff. But when you do, it's nothing. It's not easy.
I understand.
It's work, but it's
a challenge, and the unfortunate thing is you don't, search engine optimization isn't a sprint. So don't expect result. Don't think, hey, I listened to this guy talk to Jim and I learned some tips and let me do it and then look for results tomorrow. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
There's no doubt.
So many factors. That's the part that bums me out because I like a challenge, man. I like to go in there. I'm going to go in Jim's website. I did it the other night. I didn't tell you. And I'm going to tweak this. And let's see. So the whole game, if you will, is analyze, because I use data. If you don't use data, then you're just kind of spitballing. So I look at what you got, see how it's performing, see what people are doing, tweak, and then watch and analyze again. So the unfortunate thing is that takes time. So don't get discouraged if you do try to take on SEO yourself and don't see results.
I still recommend they use a professional on it. But yeah, you could try. Look, some people, they're just starting out. They just don't have the extra money. Although you would be surprised, it's not, depending on the company you use. But I know BlakSheep's very reasonable, and it's not as expensive as you may think. But I'll tell you, and Clint, you're very patient because, when he's working with me and I've got in my mind what I want, and it's not exactly, it's hard to pull out of my brain what I'm thinking, trust me. And so, we would come up with things and I'd be like, no, it's not right. Change it. The font doesn't look right. I drove him nuts with that stuff. Nah. But one day he says, look on your website. And I did, www.localleadersthepodcast.com. And it was like, how did you know? That's exactly what I wanted. That was the logo I was looking for that page or whatever. So he's very patient as well, which when you're working with Jim Chapman, that's a good thing, because I can get very OCD, I guess you could say, on that sort of thing. So thank you very much for that. Now, there's some other things that are important to ranking, page speed being one. Google especially, they like those page speeds to load in about 2 seconds. And if it takes any longer than that, it can literally knock you down the feed. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs like you do of what would slow you down. I would imagine pictures are probably something, long paragraphs, probably something.
Just bloated code, which you don't have to, the average user doesn't have to worry about, right? But pictures, there's a lot of your server, like where you host it, whether you have it on, just nerdy stuff. You know what I mean? Are you looking at my notes?
No, I'm looking at my notes.
Okay.
I ain't worried about your notes.
But, the reason Google will knock you down for a slow website is because people will bounce off of a slow website. If your website doesn't load in about 2 to 3 seconds, people are gone. People want, obviously.
You're just impressed that I knew that, aren't you? Because I did not look at your notes.
Cheating on a test and tell a teacher.
Nope.
But you're right. That's absolutely important. And there's more of a push for faster. And it becomes a trade-off, man. People will approach us and want these fancy,
was the biggest. You're talking about me. I don't care.
You. Videos and all kinds of stuff.
Look, here's the thing: when you're a business and you're on this side of it, you're so scared you're going to leave something out, and that's the battle, because what that I don't know,
right?
Or pick a person, is the more you add, the slower that page is going to load and the worse off you're going to be. I have, the constant fight for me, Clint, is to quit trying to fit so much information in such a small space. I'll give you a quick example. I sponsored Livingston Parish High School's football team, did a billboard on the scoreboard area. And I had let's just say, instead of just having local leaders of the podcast in the state, I had all kinds of things. It was like reading the Constitution. How it gets smaller and smaller as you go down. That was like, we the people, and then the rest of it's like you can barely read.
Spaceballs letters where it's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, exactly. But in my mind, I want everybody to know all their options right there on that scoreboard sign. What's the first thing my wife says to me when she sees it? I think you put too much wording on that.
Happens all the time, man.
And I'm like, you know what? You're right.
We'll get ironic. You ready? It's called Above the Fold. Guess where it came from? These guys, newspaper. So you want to put your most relevant information on that top of your website, man. And you want to put that in a call to action. There's an awesome book that I read called Don't Make Them Think, or don't. Basically, it's saying if your website's visitor has to think at any point, you lost them.
Here's an interesting fact.
What?
The average attention span 10 years ago on a website was 12 seconds. You had 12 seconds to get that, to get that person's attention. Guess what it is today? 8 seconds. How you like them apples?
Grab them and they're good.
Yeah, you got 8 seconds to get that person's attention.
Right.
So you better have something that's appealing, but at the same time, maybe not, War and Peace on there to where that person's got to sit there and read, like me, that person's got to read 400 sentences to get to Jim Does Podcast in Livingston Parish, right?
Ultimately, it's yours. It's whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that.
It is. But what you give me and educated me on was the trade-off, just what you just said. Jim, we can put whatever you want on there. We can put your whole life history on there. But if we do, in all likelihood, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem with that page loading. And you made several comments in a nice way that you were like, I'm just not happy with the load speed.
You don't think about this. Not everybody comes through your webpage, through your front door, let's call it. Like, everybody doesn't hit your homepage to come in. So that's why it's critical to have lots of content. A lot of people will say, I got a website, and they'll have home, about, contact, services, and then just call it a day, right? Well, now you've painted yourself into a box. You're the leader. You're the knowledgeable guy about what you do. You're the expert about what you do. So you wouldn't be doing your self-service as a paint guy if you just said, here's what I do, here's how I do it, here's how to get a hold of me, and whatever. You wanna educate. Remember, knowledge is key, right? So you want to say, hey, as a business owner, you want to build EAT, Google calls it, right? Expertise, authority, and trust. You want to build authority with them, and so you're gonna talk about your topics. Hey, how to clean a paintbrush, whatever. Or you do a great job at it. Latex paint versus oil based, or whatever. So you want to blog. It used to be I used to think blog was a soccer mom. When she wasn't on Pinterest.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
Cut me
I'm telling you, we're on the same. We're so on the same page. It's almost like you're beating me to my point.
So anyways, go ahead.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, dude.
So, and you just brought that up because the reason I wanted to stop you on that, there's trends now that there weren't with web design 5 years ago. It's no different than houses. There's color trends. Every 5 years, color trends change. Every 10 years, fan decks change. So, and us as people in the paint manufacturing world hate that because that is, trust me, it's a job.
Sure.
And but it changes the same way with regard to web and technology and those sorts of things. And what I think about is landing pages. Landing pages are huge right now.
Absolutely.
Okay. When you go to a website, and some people call them pop-ups, it's almost like, hey, send your name and email and I'm going to send you a free Local Leaders of Podcast t-shirt, just for doing that. And that's called a landing page. And probably most people are very smart to have one. I'm not dogging or knocking.
No, that's called a lead. In my game, it's a lead magnet. And
that's right. And really everybody, in my opinion, should have a landing page. Sure. What are some other trends you've seen? But would blogs count up there?
Absolutely, man. I can do a website, and my guys can do a website on anything, whatever technology and platform you want. However, this is I'm probably stepping on your next point. WordPress is where it's at, man, and I'm gonna tell you why. Is that your next thing?
No, it is not. But you know how much I hate WordPress.
Yeah,
and the only reason I hate it is because I don't know how to do it, and it drives me crazy when I don't know how to do something. You don't
like that sentence? Wait for the next one. WordPress, a lot of people will say
WordPress is programming for this.
Yeah, a lot of people will say I'm going to use Wix. Does that keep us from getting sued? To build my website. And
I've done a little of that.
Why I like WordPress better is because WordPress was originally set up as a blogging platform. It still is. However, Wix is proprietary.
WIX, you mean?
WIX. You don't own your content, right? So if you build a website on Wix and I'm not fooling with them no more, guess what you don't have? Your website. Right. WordPress is owned by nobody. It's open source, right? So it's supported by a huge community of nerds, kind of like me. And what I also like is the functionality. If you want to do it, and it's been done, there's a plugin to do it, right? Now, plugins slow your site down, so we'll often hard code our own stuff, but...
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month. A savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
WordPress. You can learn it. You can learn it too. It's
blows my mind.
But that's a trend, man. That's really come to the forefront.
Right. And the WIXs of the world, those are for I wouldn't say average. You probably got to still be a little bit above average to deal with Wix even. But it's a heck of a lot easier than WordPress. WordPress, to me, you need to be someone that really knows something about what you're doing.
Sure.
That's not to say that someone that is not in that world can't do it. You can certainly learn, but it's a little more in depth. Probably
you can do a whole lot more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
right.
So the trade-off there is you've kind of got to know a little bit more to do.
I think personally, Google ranks WordPress websites higher than non-Word. This is my thought process.
And it may
with absolutely no education behind it.
That may be a byproduct.
I just suspect that they must reward people that do that.
That may be a byproduct because Wix isn't. There's 1,000,001 blog posts and articles and. Is Wix SEO friendly? Is Wix not SEO friendly? Well, I find WordPress is SEO friendlier.
That's
more.
what I'm getting at, and I agree. Now we talked about SSL. How important is it to have an SSL certificate? Just in a few sentences.
It's a must.
What happens if you don't, Clint?
If you don't, Google, you don't exist to Google if you don't, for all practical purposes. Not only that is Chrome, Firefox, aka used to be Netscape. I took us full circle. You saw that?
Yeah, I like that. Welcome. You've got mail.
A warning will pop up. We've all seen it, man. A warning will pop up and say, "Hey, you're trying to visit an unsecure safe." Well, unsecure site rather. You know what I do? Hit the back button. So I'm not going to that site I went to.
And people that don't know any better will think they're getting a virus and totally hit the back button.
And hit the back button twice, you know?
And I know some pretty big websites that don't have SSL certificates, and I plan on having conversations with them.
They
cost themselves a lot of money.
We're fixing to redo next week, an e-commerce site there in another state that doesn't have an SSL certificate. So as me knowing what an SSL certificate is, it's all about security, right? That's all that thing is.
Yeah.
So you're telling Google, you're telling your visitors, hey, my site is secure. Your data is important to me.
Oh, if you're storing someone's data and you don't have an SSL certificate, that's a problem.
But you see what I'm like? Okay, so now you're storing my credit card information, and it's not secure.
Then it's really a problem.
So, and I think that's Google's Google.
Google, yeah, Google.
I think that's
Let's start that Google.
Yeah, we about to get paid. I
love it.
That's why they do it,
Yeah, but Clint, they also take a lot of liability
for sure,
because guaranteed, if you're storing someone's information and you get hacked. You can get hacked with an SSL certificate. There's no doubt about it.
That's right.
Nobody's saying you can't. But if you get hacked and you didn't have an SSL certificate, a good attorney's going to say, you didn't even care enough about your people that were storing. You were storing their information and wouldn't pay whatever it is. I don't pick a number.
$60-$70 a year.
Yeah, to secure it. And so we feel like you're even more liable than. And so to all those people out there, maybe check and make sure you have that. Because if you don't, you've got a major liability going on, especially these days. I mean, hacking's a big deal.
Website lawsuits are on the rise. I don't know if you even.
Well, hackers are on the rise.
Well, not just that. Yeah, absolutely, hackers are on the rise, and then the whole Russia, thing.
Yeah.
website owners are now getting sued frequently, and a lot of the stuff is accessible. You gonna talk about accessibility? I'm about to get you.
No.
You know, your website has to be ADA compliant. Also, it's called the.
I did not know that.
Yeah, dude. Haha, you didn't research. Let me tell you this. That's kind of a new thing. You talk about trends and things. Now, that's not a trend. It's here to stay. But your website, people should be able to view your website, irrespective of whether they're looking at it, whether they're hearing it, whether they're using a screen reader. I'm going to circle back to SEO with that.
Yeah. So if they're blind, for example.
2.3 million people in the U.S., let me back that up. I don't know. I can't read my handwriting. 7.3 million people have some sort of visual disability, right? So
in the U.S.
In the United States. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't matter. Yeah, me too. But that's $645 billion of disposable income. Business owner, you want your
yeah, I mean, you want to access all people.
So don't sell yourself short. So you've got the WCAG. I just took a boring class on it. Not that the topic is boring, the class was, because it was even nerdier than I am. So there's been some major companies get sued. Let's take one, for example, Domino's. A blind guy couldn't navigate Domino's website, couldn't use their app, sued them. Because he's not afforded the same opportunity. Yeah.
Wow. That's something that's a good tip, folks.
Netflix, back in the day, didn't provide ample services to deaf people. Mm. Sued, lost. Winn-Dixie got sued for an inaccessible website. So that's a thing, man.
Okay, well, let's just real quickly. What do you do about that? How do you make your website accessible to someone that's deaf, for example?
Well, okay.
Or hearing impaired.
Let's go. Screen readers. Okay, let's say someone's using a screen reader to visit your website. Mm-hmm. That screen reader, here's one that chaps me about SEO, right? Google, Matt Cutts and them, have come out and say, I'm going to have to sum up everything here. There's what's called headings on your page, right? Obviously, they're how your page is broke up. Well, there's one that's called a H1. It's the biggest one. It's your title of your page, right? Mm-hmm. So of your homepage, it's Local Leaders, the podcast. That's what Google and screen readers, that's what the screen reader is going to read out to the visitor. Local Leaders, the podcast. And it knows, hey, like, this is the title. So your person that can't see knows that's where they're at, right? Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, I'll see websites with 2, 3, 12 H1s on the page. So you just confuse the bots. You just confuse the guy or the female with the screen reader. So you just made a mess, right? Yeah. That's the kind of so that's something you, if you're a DIY website kind of person, can hey, just put 1-1, finish business. Now Google said that that doesn't factor, but it does. I'm not saying Google's wrong.
So what Clint's essentially saying to all you out there is, if you want to find out if you're compliant, contact Clint.
Yeah, there's a bunch of tools. Oh, man, I'll look at it.
I know all y'all right now are going, oh,
yeah, what? I'll talk in circles. My wife told me that.
Dude, what? Okay.
Then also, if you're doing your own website, name your images, right? Okay, there's what's called alt text. You've seen it. Yeah. You just don't know you've seen it. You've seen where somebody deleted a page or an image from a page, and you get the little square box that looks like a picture, and there's some words. That's what the words is. But guess what? That's what the screen reader is going to read. So it's going to come to an image, and it's going to say picture of Jim and his son's new Tesla. And it's going to read that.
Well, Clint, and let's move on to our next thing here. So Facebook. A lot of people have they got a website. McHugh, they have a website. It's on Facebook. Their website's on Facebook, Clint. Is that possible?
No. A lot of people, no, it's not. A lot of people are satisfied with, Facebook's my webpage.
Google's not going to recognize your Facebook as your webpage.
You'll rank, and your Facebook will rank. However, look at current times, right?
I think they give preferential treatment, though, or that's a bad word. The algorithm favors people that have actual websites over a website and a Facebook.
Well, yeah, it's going to want to rank your website
Facebook
first.
Is your business page.
Absolutely.
That's not a web page to me. And so I want people to just, it's free.
A Facebook page
it's free.
Yeah, but it's not enough.
Right.
Facebook is
That's
free.
the point. And I want people to understand that.
Look at this election cycle.
That's an add-on to your website.
Look at this election cycle.
To serve as your website.
Facebook, just this week, Google started censoring YouTube ads that, hey, if you put an ad that says there was collusion in then it's gone.
Well,
so Facebook, you remember you saw once the election was over, I'm leaving Facebook. I'm going to Parler, which we've got my wife did an awesome post about Parler.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's not, the grass isn't green on the other side. But anyway, so you're bound.
Parler was never meant as a Facebook alternative. It was meant as a Twitter
you're the
alternative.
Social media guy.
First of all.
But no, your Facebook isn't your website. And you know what? It might work great for you. But
it should be, it
should be secondary.
Hey, we're an opinion show, so to speak. So I want to say that, this is my opinion, that it should be an add-on to your website.
It's another means to an end.
As your website.
It's another, you close the deal on your website. This is just another means to get people to your website. That's the way I look at it. It's part of a holistic thing, like all your social media properties and everything else. Your GMB, if you haven't set one up yet, go do it. Should funnel people to that website
after,
because that's where you have control, man. That's where your content is yours. That's where you can push that user, not push in a bully way, but push them into the action you want them to take. Because the action isn't always buy now. The action could be sign up for a webinar or.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, I wish we had time to cover everything, Clint, but McHugh turned the lights off eventually and we'd be in the dark.
We'll just go leave later.
Nobody wants to see us in the dark. So we're gonna have you back every so often because this is a topic you can't cover in 10 podcasts. Sure. But we'll have you back every so often. You kind of update us on how the wonderful world of the web is going. Now, I did some fun facts. I do fun facts for every episode, but and we'll have to rely on my brain because I wrote all these awesome fun facts down, and I did not put them in my bag. So. But that's okay because I have a photographic memory, Clint. Not really, but we're gonna play off some of the ones that I do remember. So one of them we already talked about, and that was the loading speed needs to be 2%. I'm sorry, 2 seconds in order for it to be something that people
it's a good
basically click off because they think their internet's slow. It's probably a good way to put that. So 2 seconds. So when you go to your website, it needs to load within 2 seconds or you'll lose interest, period. So keep that in mind. Maybe you have pictures or something slowing it down and I'm sure you'll go to, if somebody contacts you, you'll go to the website.
Go check it out.
Check it out and kind of say,
99% of the time it's a pretty simple fix, man. It's probably images that are too big, some database, it might be too big. It's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things
easily fixed and easily you can look at it and find out what it is.
Period. Next thing. Okay, so and this was interesting. 78% of people now today in 2020 get their product information and their recommendations from 2 sources: blogs and YouTube, i.e. podcasts.
That's right.
So advertisers that advertise on a podcast, or if someone is doing something on a blog and maybe they're talking about your company in that blog, those are where people are going for their information.
Absolutely.
That is a huge flip
and
from 10 years ago. That was not how they were getting their information. It was, blogs were in their infancy, as well as obviously, podcasting. So these are great sources now for information, and that's where people are going.
And a lot of people don't know. Guess who owns YouTube?
Not me.
Google.
I did not know Google owned YouTube. That's interesting.
So who will Google trust better than themselves, right? So you're killing it by, and I see the numbers, but you're killing it by doing YouTube, by putting this on YouTube, because in the show notes, Google's going to say, hey, wait, whoa, this local leaders is this local leaders. They're the same person. So now you
they'll
just
marry it for you.
Now you've doubled down on your authority, if you will, to make it even more. I put some code in there, and anybody can put it. It's called schema. I could have talked on it, but it's a thing.
Next
right?
episode,
it's a thing. So Google now looks at your website, sees the video. I talk with my hands a lot. Sees the video because there's code written in there that says, "Hey, see this video? This is Jim from this YouTube podcast." It correlates the two.
Yeah.
So you're doubling down on that. So
right. And look, we talked about a lot today, and this is one of the most important podcasts you could ever watch from a business owner standpoint, because most business owners are so in their business that they don't grasp this. They don't want to grasp this. That's what this guy is for. I can't say that enough. He's local. He's in Denham Springs. Clint, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. How do they find you, my brother?
You can call me. You can go to our...
well, how do they call you?
225-505-3834. I'm probably not going to answer. Or I'm going to answer crazy. Like the past few times I've answered. I get in the zone when I'm designing or developing.
Or when he's podcasting.
Or podcasting, and I'll have the music loud. But anyways, you can go to our website. We've got a little instant Facebook Messenger thing right there. BlakSheepCreative.com, BLAK. If you go to BLACK, you're going to buy some kind of wooden widgets or what.
I saw that. I made that mistake.
But you can also Google it. You can Google us, Black Sheep Creative. We're actually ranking for... We're outranking the other guy, the CK guy, which figured that out.
Yeah.
Somebody knows what they're doing. Or you can look on, man, we got a Facebook, Black Sheep Creative. You talk about us all the time.
Yeah.
Google it. We got that if you Google it and you're local,
you'll find him. Just Google it.
For sure.
You'll find
Send
it.
up a smoke screen. I'll find it.
Yeah. Scream outside, whatever. But what, I can't say enough how much of a good job you do. And I really, you've already taken off. You already do so many things for so many people. We're going to link the nonprofits on this thing. I know that you're very passionate about that. We're going to link your website, obviously, and all your great stuff that you do. I do want to thank Mr. McHugh David for engineering this awesome episode. Clint Sanchez of Black Sheep Creative for joining me. I do have this gift for you. We're not going to open it up, but this is a little take-home thing from us because on my podcast, we give people things. How you like them apples?
Why is it meowing?
Miss Casey McMurray, who's off screen, my executive producer, and all you viewers and listeners for your support. Please keep spreading the word. Thank you to all my sponsors. You all know I could do none of this without all of you. I say it every episode. I absolutely mean it. Thank you very much. If you're interested in sponsoring Local Leaders, the podcast, or appearing on this show, please reach out to executive producer Casey McMurray at Casey, CASIE, at localleadersthepodcast.com. She'll give you all the info you need. Please follow me on social media and subscribe completely free to my YouTube channel at Local Leaders the Podcast. We are closing in on our 100th episode. I think it's going to be a special one. I haven't decided who I'm going to have on yet. I think I'm going to have, I don't know, someone. Don't tease me, Clint. Give him a call. I would love it. Okay, please follow me on all social media and subscribe. I already said all that. Until next time, I am Jim Chapman reminding you to love your community, support local business, and keep leading.
Whoa.
If you're in the market to purchase a home or sell your home, then Tricia Johnston of Ladder and Bloom Realty can assist. With over a decade of experience in the area, Tricia's vast knowledge of real estate makes her the perfect realtor to represent you. For more information, Tricia can be reached at area code 225-754-2000 or via her website at TriciaJohnston.com. Tricia Johnston, building a strong foundation of trust, one home at a time. Do you need cash? Do you want to consolidate debt? Premier Credit can help. They provide quick and confidential loans for any reason. Their service is same day, and most loans are approved within minutes. You can apply in person or by the phone. Their experienced and knowledgeable loan professionals will leave you feeling confident that your loan is being properly handled in a secure manner. Premier Credit can be reached at 225-667-8100, or you can email WeSayYes@premiercredit.com, or stop by and spin the wheel at 139 Del Norte Avenue in Denham Springs. They're open Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and are a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. Stephanie Berthelot and the crew at SR Enterprise can handle it all, from sheetrock to texture to paint. Give Stephanie a call at 504-432-9284. SR Enterprise, where they spread the paint and you spread the word. William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance in Denham Springs can service all of your insurance needs. Offering auto, life, health, and commercial insurance, William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance is a proud supporter of Local Leaders, the podcast. BJ Pawn and Gun has been servicing the Livingston Parish community since 1990. If you need it, there's a good chance BJ Pawn has it. So go see them in Denham Springs. They're a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. BlakSheep Creative understands the importance of digital marketing and your return on your investment. It's their aim to provide professional web and graphic design services at a price point that smaller businesses and startups can afford. Get in touch with them on the web at BlakSheepCreative.com.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.